Welcome, welcome, welcome. Bem-vindos, bem-vindos a este programa. Welcome to this amazing program from Batoto Yetu. We have an amazing guest tonight, and he's there waiting. He's going to share a lot of information with us, and we're quite happy. Just a little bit about Batoto Yetu, some of those who don't know, but Batoto Yetu Portugal is a youth and cultural association. We work with children and young people, and people who are interested in African culture, may come from disadvantaged backgrounds. And the philosophy of Batoto Yetu is really to kind of facilitate inclusion through arts, and valuing cultural roots as an essential factor, and work holistically on self-esteem and a sense of belonging on the Afro-descendant community in Portugal. And this is a little bit about Batoto Yetu. They are been in existence in Portugal for 25 years. So it's quite amazing actually to be able to have this kind of organization for this amount of time. But we're quite excited. And this is part of some of the projects that we do. So this project is called Afro Atlantico, and it's about facilitating intercultural exchange between African American artists, and to hire, as well as share as much as any tools that we can be used, and also reflected in the sphere here in Portugal. So this is what the Afro Atlantic is about, this intercultural exchange. We're very excited about it. And without much ado, I'd like to introduce you to Wordsmith. Yes, if there was a clap thing, we do it right now. And we'd like to ask you to please introduce yourself and tell us about yourself and all of it.
Well, Iris, thank you so much for the lovely introduction. I think the only thing I miss is actually being there in Portugal. That's something I always love about, just doing these cultural programs. But a little bit about myself, like Iris said, my name is Wordsmith. I'm a songwriter, performer, entrepreneur, and philanthropist. And I'm big on outreach, community engagement, and working on cultural ties, which is why I love doing programs with, colleagues overseas, or working with the embassies or Department of State. I've been blessed that since 2016, I've been able to tour to 11 different countries to perform big concerts, intimate concerts, workshops, hold classes. Being a Black man here in America, I've been thankful that 2 of my tours have been to Africa. And so I've been able to visit Namibia, Cote d'Ivoire, Angola twice, where I think I'm actually from. Because when I went to Angola, I saw so many people that look like me there. And being from America, not to harp on it, but, when you're an African American, you don't truly know your roots. So you spend a lot of your life, unfortunately, trying to figure out where did I actually come from. So when I go to Africa, it's such an eye-opening experience for me, because I learned about my culture that I should know about already. And I learned about clothes, food, traditions, and it's tough sometimes because you go, man, this is something I should have known as a kid, or I wanted to be a part of as a kid. And African Americans, we kind of got to go backwards and do our own research and, escape to Africa to figure out actually where we came from. So that's a part of my journey as well. I'm thankful that I have my hands in a lot of different projects. I believe in this phrase right here. It's called exhausting your soul. Meaning,
exhausting your soul.
Exhausting your
I never
soul.
heard that one before.
Yeah.
That's one.
And let me tell you what it means is, we all have a period of time here on earth, and we don't know how much time we have. Okay. None of us do. And so you want to really exhaust your soul while you're here. I'm not saying you should be doing something crazy every minute of the day, but every day you get up, you should have a purpose, something to accomplish for yourself. If you have a family, for your family as well, but also accomplishments helping others. That's probably the biggest reason why we are all here on this earth, is to help one another. And so I really base myself, around those principles, and having that mind frame has allowed me to open up my own entertainment company. I have 5 artists that are signed to it, and 3 of the artists are international. One is from Tunisia. Yep. One is from Haiti, and one of my bands is from Ukraine.
Oh,
And the great,
fantastic. I love the
yeah.
the diversity. This is brilliant. Sorry, I don't know all of your stuff, so I know some of it.
Sure.
This is fantastic. Sorry to interrupt you.
No, no, thank you so much. And the great thing about the artists I signed is I've either met them on tours or they've been at shows and we performed together. So we built friendships, built a bond, and I'm able to give them an opportunity to expose them to American audiences. My other business is my nonprofit, and it's called Rise with a Purpose. And I started my nonprofit mainly because of the city I live in is Baltimore City. And here in America, it's probably us, Detroit and Chicago, are probably the toughest cities as far as crime wise, drug abuse, police brutality, segregation still. All these things still happen in these cities. So, open up my nonprofit. I wanted to try to help a lot of our homeless population, which is very high out here. But music has done so much for my life, for my kids' life. And believe it or not, in the public schools in Baltimore City, there's no music education at all. So I'm trying part of my nonprofit and what I'm working on right now is to open up a permanent music school in my city, which will allow kids to come for free to learn drumming, keyboard, become a recording engineer, songwriting, dance choreography, you name it. But every class will also be live streamed around the world because during my travels, I've met so many artists, kids, families that are like, my son wants to learn how to play guitar, or my daughter wants to learn how to sing and write music. And so they'll have an opportunity to freely sign up for these classes that'll be broadcasted here in Baltimore City, but they'll be able to attend classes for free on a regular basis.
Definitely.
So,
I mean, this is
uh,
the advantage now, isn't it?
yeah,
Of being online. We've got to think this way. We've got to think all the possibilities that actually we didn't have before in terms of
yeah,
reach to really create our projects and our reach in a different manner. So yeah, no, I hear you. It's really
yeah. No
exciting.
excuses. No excuses, right,
No,
Harris?
that's
Honestly.
it. No
Yeah,
excuses, right? It's exactly
yeah.
that. I'm going to go back to that. No excuses,
No
and
excuses.
to the purpose and frame of mind that you have, because I think that is the center of it all. Where does it turn? Uh, where do you can come from a disadvantaged background per se and
Sure.
change it around? And how do you do that? And can you do that really? And if so, I believe so, but then how?
I would just tell you, like I said earlier, that's why you got to exhaust your soul. Do as much as you can.
I hear you.
Yeah,
Because I see you kind of go into all these different areas. And I mean, to me, it's like, it's just, you know, if you're an artist, you creative period, you don't just
mhm,
kind of say, oh, I'm only going to do this in this area. So
correct.
to me, I sense that's kind of normal. But I guess that even like the way a lot of Black artists are seen, let's put it that way, it's not necessarily like that. And especially let's say it, like most people would not really kind of go to a Black artist and think, oh yeah, like you can collaborate on something classical. You
Yeah,
know,
correct.
of course you can, we know that. But like generally, like there was just not, and there's a lot of opportunities that are missed in terms of even just pure creativity and pure collaboration, because this is not something that people necessarily think about. How did you kind of not say, but like kind of decide that this is fine, like I can do whatever I want, I can collaborate in any area I want? What made you feel like at ease with this?
I mean, somebody has to step up to the plate,
Yeah.
and create that bridge. You know what I mean? I think there's always select people in our lifetime that are meant to do certain things or can be that bridge to unite people. And I consider myself one of those people. I wasn't always there. Don't get me. I wasn't born and said, "Hey, I'm a leader." Something I had to come to realize. It's something that I had to be willing to take on because when you're leading change, you also take on the burden of hundreds of people, thousands of people who maybe don't have the same voice you have or want to speak up but don't know how to deliver it in maybe a fashion that you can. And so I speak for a lot of people, and I have to make sure that what I put out there is impacting, not tearing anybody down. So I'm just very conscious of
And do
what's
you
out
feel the
there.
weight of that responsibility as an artist?
Oh
Because
yeah.
I know I read about, the fact that when you start having a family, you kind of not switched, but I guess it was already there, but you kind of felt like actually I want my music to be a little bit more like, I want my kids to be like, yeah, I can hear
Sure.
that is music. and not feel like, oh, what's all these words are so negative. I mean, I'm going to confess, I come from dance, and I'm not a big hip hop connoisseur, but one of the things that I always had about hip hop, it was like, why do they use such like negative words all the time? And I couldn't get into it because of that. So I'm just wondering, was that the switch for you, or you already had this in mind that you wanted to go back to this more sort of like message, social message type of things, or kind of using language that is, perhaps not so negative?
I think with me creating music, it needed to match what I was about personally. It's not, I mean, I remember when I was first getting started in my career, I cursed a lot, and I kind of went between that line of, you know, putting a message out there and then making songs about absolutely nothing, just wasteful songs. And I just kind of hit that point where I said, I want my music to line up with me. And I'm a person who I like to give, I like to work hard, I like to see the best in people. I like to help those who are underserved. And I said, that's the stuff that I need to be putting out there through my music. So that was one. And the second was what you said, Iris, just, being a father. I'm blessed to have both sides. My oldest son I adopted him when he was young. He's 17 now. And then I have my blood child who's 10. So I have the best of both. And I want my kids to be able to put on my music at any time, not cringing or saying, dang, you can't even put my own music on because I'm cursing too much. I mean, just think about that.
That's bad. Oh.
Yeah, this is me, and y'all need to turn that off, So I wanted my music to be able to play in any atmosphere, because I'm involved in so many different projects. I didn't want to have music to where I can't play it around this group of people. I can't play it around this group of people. My music, you can literally put it on anywhere and you'll be fine.
And do you feel by making that decision that actually your music became not just more accessible, but also easier to spread in different mediums? Or do you think it's just a choice anyway?
You take a hit. I'm just being honest. I get to do a lot of things that even big major artists don't get to do because of the type of music they make. So don't get me wrong, I'm blessed in that sense. But what I have given up is probably being a real big artist, because I don't make the typical music that's playing on the radio all day long. It sounds exactly the same. And again, I'm content driven. I don't make a song unless it has a purpose.
Right.
That's not what America's built on. We're very superficial, materialistic, and we really don't try to listen to what a message within a song, So I knew taking this path that I was giving up probably becoming a big artist, but I live off my music. I take care of my family off my music. So I made it regardless. I'm just not what you consider some big celebrity artist, which never was important to me anyway.
Right. I guess is that kind of choice, isn't it? But do you think like hip hop artists kind of have that understanding when they are starting, or they just feel that like they have to do the kind of what may be considered more aggressive type of hip hop music?
I think you have to make a decision, of kind of what you want to sell your soul to. Do you want to be true to yourself, or do you want to do what maybe a label or what the industry is telling you to do just so you can have a career? And the drawback to that is you might do what the label and industry is telling you to do, but then your career only lasts 2 or 3 years, So me, I've been doing this 11 years consistently and I'm still relevant,
Right.
So I'll take that over being a flash in the pan.
Right. Yeah, for sure. We're going to go back to that because I think there was someone that wrote us a question on that kind of the message sort of thing in rap. But I want to go back a little bit to you and kind of ask you at what moment, or if there was a moment or someone that mentored you or inspired you to believe and pursue your dream. Like once you kind of said, okay, like this is what I want to do, and you started doing it. Was there a moment that you had somebody like a mentor, someone, or was that a moment that was really special to you when you made that kind of switch decision that made you kind of pursue what you dreamed of doing?
2 people, my mother and my brother. My mother picked at me early on in life, picked at me to do something in entertainment, because I was all about sports. You know, I loved
Oh,
football. I was able to get a scholarship to go to college on football. And my mother, like, you know, you can play football, that's all good. But she said, I just think you should do something in entertainment, music, acting, something like that. And my mother was right. That's what I ended up doing, you know, and
she
that
saw
that
it.
was
She
the right.
saw it. She
She
saw
saw
it.
it. She saw it, Iris, and I just wasn't. I didn't trust the process. My ears wasn't open to accept it, you know. And that was the lesson I learned over time. Was, man, my mother knew way back then. I wish I would have got started earlier. The second is my brother because I acted for a little while as well, and I ended up getting an offer to go to graduate school. And I didn't get into graduate school for acting, but my brother's the one. I remember he drove me to Penn State University for this graduate acting program. And I told my brother, if I don't get in, I'm putting all my effort and time into music. Knowing I had no setup, nothing. I mean, nothing, Iris. And I remember my brother going, if that happens, I'll learn how to produce. So you have some beats and you can write. And no lie, I didn't get in. My brother learned how to produce. For the first 2 years of my career, my brother was my producer, and he didn't know how to produce a lick prior to those
Oh,
two
wow.
years.
I
But that's
love
how
it.
much, yeah, that's how much he believed in me. He was like, "No, you got it, you got it." He's like, "I'll do whatever I got to do." And granted, my brother was in getting his doctorate at this time, so he really didn't have the time to learn to be a producer, and he sacrificed for me. And if it wasn't for my brother, I honestly would not be here right now because I literally had nothing, no one to go to, no help. But he gave me, you know, a platform where I could write, start building my songs, which I was able to take to different people and start getting exposure. But if it wasn't for him, I didn't know where to go.
Do you feel like we all need that? I mean, I personally kind of think we do, but do you feel that you in order to be successful, do you sincerely need somebody to believe in you?
You need both. You know, one, it starts with believing in yourself, of course. You know, if you don't believe in yourself, you're kind of dead, you know, on arrival, unfortunately. But I think you don't need a bunch of people. You need one or two people that are passionate the way you are about your profession. And it doesn't mean they have to work alongside of you, but they support what you're trying to do. They encourage you to seek out your path. So I told you two people. Not that my dad wasn't a great force in the situation, but it was more my mother and my brother who saw my
Sure.
talents with music and things like that, and really was like, "Hey, you're gonna regret if you don't see it out." You know, and so I finally took that and saw it out, and that's why I'm here where I'm at now.
Oh, that's brilliant. Do you feel uh, uh, like everyone should try and get a mentor if they don't have, because sometimes even our parents, I mean, for example, in the Afro-Portuguese society, there's still a little bit of this idea of you're not really, if you decide to do music, as an Afro descendant, as a Black person, it's kind of like, ooh, our parents, our generation of parents be like, oh, no, musician, like a dancer. Oh, what are you talking about? I want you to be a doctor or an architect
Yeah.
or, you know, that kind of stuff. So if when that happens, what do you feel that, one can do if that's the case?
I mean, I had to make a lot of people believers. My dad was one of them. You know, he supported me, but he's kind of what you said, Iris, is he didn't see the long term solution. You know, he's like, very few make it in music. You know, what is the long term plan to make money? And early on, I didn't know. You know, so of course your parents are going to worry. You know, and so forth. And you know, my dad, he one of my biggest supporters today. You know, he loves coming to see me perform. He loves coming to different concerts. And but again, it was about me making him believe. But I had to do the same thing when I first started playing sports or when you're in school or just in general in life, you're always proving yourself to somebody, whether it's your
Yeah,
parents or
that's
friends or somebody. So that's just a part of the game to me. If you really want something and you believe in it, then you got to show and prove. You know, you can't, hey, I really want to do this, but then you're sitting around being lazy on trying to do it.
yeah,
Anybody's
don't
going to be like,
act
man,
on it.
find something
Yeah.
else. Yeah, do something else, man.
Say,
Come on.
yes, I want to do this. And they're like, what are you doing every
Yeah,
day
what are you
to
doing?
kind of get there?
Exactly.
Nothing. Well, I don't expect the results. There's a question here. Someone is asking me to ask you the song Benita from
Mhm.
the first video that you showed. They said it reminds them of the Brenda Got a Baby from Tupac. So
Really?
they're asking you, what are your musical references from the past or present?
Well, I definitely wasn't thinking of Brenda's Got a Baby when writing that song. But nah, I
Wow.
appreciated that you got that old school nostalgia from it because that point of view I did write it from. That it's a vocal jazz record, but it sounds like old school hip hop in a lot of ways too. So, thank you for that. Tupac was definitely someone I looked up to as a kid, more because I felt he was the ultimate artist. He was political. He was big on being free speech. He was big on, not that he didn't make his mistakes, we all do, but he was one of the few artists that was commercially big, but also had a voice in the world where people would listen to him. And he was a great poet, great actor as well, just a really well rounded individual that didn't have enough time. Other groups that I really loved growing up was EPMD. I was a big Nas fan, big
Oh, yeah.
Redman fan. Tribe Called Quest, that was my favorite
Oh,
group.
I remember
Followed by
them.
Public
Yes.
Enemy, yeah,
Tribe
Public
Called
Enemy,
Quest.
yeah. I still have these guys on tape.
Oh,
If y'all know
wow.
what tapes are, yeah. I got a big tape collection, so yeah,
I
I
showed
still
some
love a
tapes
lot of
to
old
my
school.
daughter, and
They're
she's
like, "What
like,
is that?"
how do you do
Yeah,
this? I was like, how do you play this? And like, what happens, you know?
yeah.
And
My
she's,
kids go, "It's so stupid, Dad. Why do you have to rewind the tape?" And I said, "You're right. It is pretty stupid." Because I said, I remember having to rewind the tape. You got to keep stopping it just to get to the song you want. The headache.
the pencil, when the things got stuck.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I said, you just don't even
You
know.
have to rewind the pencil.
Yeah, they
That
don't
was
even know.
brilliant.
Yeah. Everything digital for them, so they don't even know, Eris.
I know, right? This, I think,
Yeah.
yeah, these are references. I don't know, but funnily enough, like my daughter is discovering Tupac and stuff that that like I would not think that she'd be interested in, And I think, yeah, some things are have a certain, I'm not going to say they're eternal, but they have a longevity that
Hmm.
you obviously cannot guess, when you're creating
Sure.
music. But I guess as an artist, this is what you aim for, right?
Hmm. Definitely, you want to leave some type of legacy behind. You
Mm,
know, because you think about it, Pac, man, died what almost 20 years ago now, but our kids know who he is. And they weren't even around in his era. So you
right.
have a legacy when kids are finding your music or they hear you by word of mouth from a kid that is not even from that era going, I love pop.
Yeah,
Pop,
yeah,
pop came out 15 years ago,
yeah.
but that's legacy right there.
That is. Um, I wanted to ask you as well, what are the biggest challenges for your work to to reach and integrate within African American communities, or if there is any challenges, or were there any challenges before at the start of your career, perhaps, or are there any
Uh,
now?
I wouldn't say in my immediate community. The city I live in my community, it's over 60% black. So it's one of the few cities in America where the African American population outweighs all other races. So I'm around a lot of my people all the time. So I was never, I guess, trying to get into that community. I'm a part of it
Right.
on an everyday basis. My work now is to expose my community to bigger and better things. The music school, like I was talking about earlier,
Yeah.
doing food programs for the homeless in my community, which I did 2 weeks ago. So the state where I'm at in my career now, though I still want to, I have successful things that I'm doing still, and there are still goals I want to reach. My highest goals now are giving back. And that's something I would tell to anybody in any profession. When you become successful, consistently successful, and you don't have as many worries, your next big worry should be who can I help next? Who can I reach back and who do I have a heart to help? It may not be the homeless, it might be cancer patients, it might
Right.
be patients with HIV or people suffering from COVID, whatever it might be. Think about those things and go, who can I start helping? Who can I, and it doesn't always have to be financial. And that needs to be said too, because people think, okay, what I got to give money. No, you can go out
Yeah.
and physically help, and whether that's giving out food or stocking, making the food bags for the homeless, or volunteering time during Thanksgiving when they're doing the turkeys, or going in your neighborhood and just leaving goodie bags on your neighbor's steps that need them. So it's whatever you want to make it. To be honest, there's no rules to helping people. Whatever you want to
But
do that will help your community.
do you find do you find that this kind of spirit, this community spirit, is in our communities, in African American communities, or even in Portugal? There's quite a chance, and I always found that within this all the kind of programs that we try to do, sort of outreach in terms of, you know, through the arts, there can be a lot of resistance, and there is resistance. Resistance I feel is kind of due to a lack of trust sometimes.
Right.
I wonder if that's the same there, and how do you overcome that lack of trust? Because that's kind of, I feel like it's at the root of things.
Sure.
I know there's a historical context within it too, but I wonder if you've identified the same, and kind of what did you do? How did you address it?
I mean, because I have chosen to still live in my community despite my success, I'm seen in my community. So if I decide to throw an event, the respect is there.
Right.
Whereas someone who may have become successful, who decided to move out of an underserved area, may have to fight to get things done because people are like, well, you made it and moved out of the community. We don't even see you no more. And you're trying to come back and do stuff from time to time, whereas I'm there and I'm seen all the time, and I'm constantly working on things, trying to see, hey, what does my community need? Or, for example, when I did the homeless event, I asked people that were coming up getting the blessing bags, what do y'all really need out here? And so I rather you tell me, you're the one who unfortunately has to live on the street every day. What do you need out here? What is the most important to you? And so I'm able to nail down and say, okay, this is what my people need. Let me supply it to them next time we're out here. The biggest issue I had, to be honest, is the political side of things, because this is transparent as can be. I can get funding from promoters, colleagues, Department of State to go all these different countries to do the same work I want to do in my city. But then when I go to my city hall to do the same thing, I can't even get $1.
Can't get funding.
Can't get nothing.
Wow.
And I literally sit in a room with the powers that be going, you got to understand how this make y'all look. If I can get X and X amount of dollars to go to Lithuania and talk to kids over there and perform for there, how is it in my own community where I live, where you know there's heavy poverty, no music programs, homeless is heavy, opiate abuse is heavy, and you won't even give me $1 to execute anything? It shows you that politics plays a heavy role in deciding how your community turns out. Even if you have that heart to do as much as you want, which is, I'm one of those people. I learned early that I just have to do it. You can't, I tried 6 months of going to City Hall, proposal after proposal. Hey, do this, do this. Here's a budget breakdown, da 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 da. Nothing got done. The moment I opened my nonprofit, raised the money on my own, I'm looking for a building for the music school now. See the difference? You go to politics way, it can work sometimes, but if it doesn't fit their program or what they're trying to execute, or they don't feel there's money involved for them, trust me, it's dead in the water.
I know.
I had to learn that.
I know it's a tough one, because whether here or even in the UK, where I lived for over 20 years, one of the things that we would consistently discussing was, okay, do we want to sit at a table, or do we want to create our own table? And we kind of, okay, we want both. We want to sit at the table, but then it's kind of like, okay, that's they give you a seat at the table, all right, and then they realize that you're actually making too many changes to the table, so they might create a table that you don't even see anymore. So do you truly just want to have a seat at the table, or do you want to create your own table? So it's always the question, because there's also obviously the question of allyship, and also the question of earn it. It's you paying your taxes, it's your country. No, it's not really, so you should have a seat at the table, period. It should not even really be a conversation even. But this is always what I find that we keep on discussing, throughout different projects that I'm involved. It always seems to sort of boil down to this question: where are we focusing on? Are we focusing on the seat at the table, getting that funding, or are we going to be just dependent on funding? Because if you're just dependent on that, then if that then just suddenly is taken off you, then what do you do? How do you carry on? Suddenly, then what do you have? So it's always a conversation, I
So
guess.
well said. No, it's so well said. And that's the lesson I learned, Eris, is I was just sitting
Okay.
at the table
Right.
for months, and then I had to realize I got to make this happen on my own. Then I can reach back, and that's kind of what's happened is once I was able to build my own funding, uh, build some good partners and do a couple fundraisers, it's easier to go back to these people because then they're like, oh, wow, you done this, you did that, you partnered with this. Now they want to pay attention. It's sad that it's that way, but
Yeah.
you got to listen to what Ira said. Don't just sit at the table. You got to make things happen.
Yeah, I believe that. But I want to ask you, because you have your hands creatively in so many parts as well. There's quite a few questions I still need to ask you about your work, but this for me, I think it's really important because what you've said right at the beginning, it really resonated with me. I'm a great believer in purpose, and I'm a great believer in how we present ourselves and where we're aiming at, and our attitude to things. And I really believe that our attitude to things, however hard it may be, it's certainly the first step to manifesting and getting things done. So I want to ask you, what habits did you have to learn or get to stay focused and develop professional relationships? Because I know you've got work with so many, the TV, cinema, Netflix, etc. So I'm really curious about what kind of habits, what kind of attitudes would you say are really necessary to have, especially as a Black man,
Sure.
to develop professional relationships that are successful.
I think one, you got to be relentless. That's my attitude every day. I realize there's thousands of other people like me going after the same thing, to be honest. And if you can think of it like that, that's built in motivation every day. So that's my number one. But also, I feel I utilize my time, wisely. I have two kids, they both in school. So it's not like I have all day to get everything done. I start my day early as well. I'm up at 5:30 every single day, getting
Wow.
my day started. Sometimes I have meetings, with overseas, so I have to get up early. But I've learned, over time, getting up early like that, it makes my day longer in my mind, where I feel I can get more done. But being
There's a
regimented,
book of that, isn't it?
organized.
There's a book that says, is it
Really?
the 5 o'clock, the 5 a.m. club or something, like
No, I've
successful?
never heard of that actually. I
Yeah,
just
successful people,
okay.
something, the 5 o'clock, like getting up early, basically.
I
Okay.
didn't know that.
So
Okay. If
being
you
relentless.
if you stumble upon the name of that book, can you shoot it to me? Because I didn't know
Yeah,
that.
yeah, of course. I'm gonna write it
Okay.
down to send it to you.
But yeah, getting up early was something that I started doing years ago, and it pays a big, I would say, dividend on how my day turns out. Because starting early, I'll get up. I normally work out in the morning just about every day for the health side and staying in shape as an entertainer. Get my kids up, get them to school. Normally, when I get back, I answer my opening emails that day, and normally my meetings start between 10 or 11 o'clock a.m. Whether I'm doing Zoom like this or I'm actually physically going to a meeting in a building or so forth. Every day I always have writing work to do, whether I'm writing a jingle or right now I'm actually writing a whole song for a different artist because I write for other artists as well. And then I have my pieces that I write, with the symphony orchestra, my own work that I do. I'm on a tour right now as well. I actually just came back in from Cincinnati, like I told you, and I leave for Denver next week. So my time is like this all the time, and I do feel the crunch. So feeling that crunch, I'm all about organization. That's probably the
Right
biggest thing I
on.
can preach. Organization. Don't just fly through your day and go, I know I got this to do. You'll forget three or four of those things. Trust me. I don't care how sharp your mind is. My calendar stays lit up. Purple, yellow, throughout my day, I got to do this, and that. But
And there's
yeah,
no excuses
organization.
now, right? No
No,
excuses. You
no,
got everything
no.
digital. You got the alarm thing that can
There
do
you
an
go.
alarm for you and everything.
Hey, I get on my oldest son about it. I'm like, hey, I ain't your secretary, man. You need to. I can't be reminding you of everything. And I tell him, utilize your Google Calendar, set an alarm on your phone. I'm like, there's so much you could do that I didn't have when I grew up. Like we
Yeah,
had basic clock to go off, and you can't carry that around in your pocket. So come on.
we had
But
a little book and we wrote it down.
yeah, take notes or something,
Yeah.
But I would just say organization is so key. Make sure every day you know what you want to accomplish. All right. Know what you want to accomplish every day and set your schedule up to do it.
So being relentless, being organized,
Yeah.
making sure that you do one thing at least every day towards your purpose, you know, and keep writing, keep being creative.
That's
you don't
important
necessarily
too.
have to have a gig, you know, like tomorrow, but it's not there. But if you keep being creative, it's just gonna come to you, isn't it? Because you keep working at it, you keep, you know, keep being creative about it.
Yeah,
Definitely.
it's with
And
anything.
getting up early, getting up at 5 o'clock.
Yeah, get up early. That's right.
Get up early, which means no late parties, I guess.
God, I still up late. Trust me.
You still up late, right?
Yeah.
I want to go to an area of just want to kind of discuss this a tiny little bit because I think it's still fresh in our minds, and I guess, to be honest, I think it's fresh forever. But I want to kind of touch on the questions on around BLM, Black Lives Matter, and one of the questions also that was sent to me, it's when this movement, you know, came about. I think, you know, every 10 years or 20 years, there's a movement, whether it's Black, you know, the Black Panthers or whether it's something else. It's important to kind of, we have to keep on raising these, unfortunately. But when Black Lives Matter happened, there was a lot of artists that didn't really talk about much, and some did, you know, and this kind of had a I think perhaps an effect. I think there was a lot of people who criticized, for example, Kendrick Lamar and J. Cole, so that, because they didn't really talk about BLM. I mean, without having to talk about these two particular artists, what do you think about this silence? Do you think Afro-American artists should say something about it, or
For sure.
not?
If you look at the history of hip hop, I remember back in the day growing up, hearing a song and seeing a video called Self Destruction. Look it up.
Oh.
Now, it was all the main, I would say, hip hop solo artists and groups in hip hop who came together to talk about stopping the violence in the Black communities. Okay. We saw none of that during this, when George Floyd passed, the BLM movement. Did you see any hip hop artists come together to do anything of any substance? No. I have an easy answer for this. And I spoke to my sons about it. Because my son was like, man, how come so many celebrities are quiet? I said, because they don't stand for nothing. I said, understand what I'm telling you. This moment exposed a lot of people. I said, a lot of the people you love them only because they're music. But outside of that, you don't know what they stand for. So I'll use Drake as an example. I don't dislike Drake, but I couldn't tell you to this day, I don't know what Drake stands for as a man. Does that make sense? When you meet me, you get an idea of what I stand for through my music, when I speak to you, in my presence. But even a lot of the artists I love, I couldn't tell you. Like, what do you believe in? What do you stand for? What gets you agitated in this world if it happens? We saw one of the biggest things that changed a lot of people's lives and minds when George Floyd passed. And we saw complete silence from almost 90% of the celebrity community who have the power to open their voice, say a couple words, and make change. And we saw next to none of it. Now, we saw some of them hop in a couple protests, spoke here and there, but it was nothing big, nothing significant where you saw celebrities really go, hey, we have the power to come together and make this happen. You didn't see it because, again, the realization was they're just celebrities. They don't really stand for much. And that's what I saw and still see to this day, because I openly, and again, I'm not a big, huge artist, but if you go back and look at that time period from last year, I released a record called called Election Day. I released a record called Victory. All in real time of what's going on in our society. Because again, going off of, this is the stuff I live every day and what I talk about. So when this happened, I'm like, this is in my music all the time. I'm trying to open people's ears to what's going on. But those artists who are out here every day, just hanging out, 5 chains around their neck, really not contributing to society at all, Music's not even that great all the time. They had nothing to say. I'm just keeping it real. They had nothing to say when the moment came. And I think that was the probably the worst example that kids saw was, man, the guy that I idolized had nothing to say when he should have had something to say in this moment. So I hope.
I'm gonna be the devil's advocate
Okay.
here, but do you think that like another artist can say, but why should I stand for anything? Like I just stand for my music. I'm just doing music. I'm chilling. Like why should I need to stand for anything? Just being the devil's advocate here, because I
Because
hear
you're a
that a lot.
musician.
I hear that a lot.
Yeah, I don't believe in that. I mean, when certain professions, Iris, it comes already with certain guidelines. If you are an entertainer on any format, you are a visible public figure. Okay, so you have a responsibility to, for whatever comes out of your mouth, it's going to impact somebody because you're an entertainer. You reach the masses quickly, whereas someone just say is a doctor, okay, which is very important to anybody's society. But a doctor doesn't get on a stage. He doesn't have a mic in his hand. He's not on the radio. He's not on TV and a music video. He's not on anything mass media that you see constantly. Okay, so I don't want to hear that a musician, I just want to do my music. Well, that's not what you signed up for. You have a voice in America, and a bigger artist has a voice around the world, right? So you have a duty, even if it's just to speak on the subject and say, "Hey, this was a tragedy. This is not something we need to put up with. This is my opinion on things we can do to come together." Say something, because I know a lot of these artists had thoughts. They had thoughts, but the fact that they didn't speak those thoughts said a lot, because I think a lot of these people really sat down during that time and said, "Man, I don't know what I stand for. And if I do speak up now, I kind of look bad because I didn't stand up for any of this stuff prior to this
Before.
happening." You remember, you know what I'm saying? Where me, I'm like, I'm ready to lead this. This is what I do on my everyday, you know? So
Do you think that's the the idea of being a musician or an artist, especially a Black artist, is kind of confounded with understanding that that kind of stance sort of comes with it? Or because I feel that what a lot of people came to me and said, "Hey, I just dance. I'm not political. I'm not. I come from dance, and I do a lot of African diasporic type of dancing,
okay.
which is a lot of the focus, of course, of Batoto Yetu as well." And at the time, during the time, for me, it was very confusing, let's say, because
Okay.
I knew so many artists that were working, successfully working through dances of the African diaspora, and absolutely were silent. They were absolutely silent. It was like unable to say anything. And I just felt something is not quite right here. I didn't feel comfortable by the fact that, hang on, like you are working in this field, you are making money, benefiting from Black culture.
See, this is what I'm talking about, Iris.
What's surely, am I wrong to expect that perhaps you should have expressed yourself about this a little bit louder? It was very confusing to me at the time to actually realize that there was a little bit of silence more than I anticipated.
You and I the same. I was like, where's everybody at? I was like, none of y'all got nothing to say, So I think our mind frames were the same. It just the disappointment was there. I was surprised by how quiet it was. It was almost, I got the feeling, and I'm speaking more here in America, that our biggest artists were just waiting for the moment to pass so they could get back to work. That's how it felt.
Right.
Based on discussions I had with other people in the industry, when they're like, Word, I know what you're about, but I'm like, man, you know how big of a fan I am of X and X artists. He's like, man, I don't even know what that dude stands for anymore. He's been absolutely silent the past 2 months. No music out, hadn't said anything. I mean, some artists didn't even get on social media because I think they had the fear of, I gotta say something in this moment. So let me just not even, just stay in my hole. And I didn't respect that either. No one's asking you to come out here and put a flag in your hand and a gun in your hand and lead this war, but you're a known figure, a public figure, and with that comes a duty. Even if you don't want to be a role model, you're a role model to other kids and people, whether you like it or not. So they're expecting something from you, and we didn't get that.
Right. I think it's that, isn't it? It's the moment that you are a public figure, and this is what I hear all the time, hey, I'm a public figure. I didn't ask to be a public figure. This just comes with the job. But I'm just doing music. I'm not doing anything else. I'm not political. But what I find is that, can you truly do Black music, or music from Black origin, or dance, in my case, from African diasporic forms, and not be political? Because in it, you are already in itself political,
Yes,
in the way.
yes. Thank you.
So because I was trying hard, like I said, okay, Iris, maybe you are being too, trying to make it like, oh, you have to say something. Maybe actually I'm being too presumptuous. I shouldn't be saying nothing. But this is, for me, was like trying to disconnect the political. I'm not political. And I felt that, well, it's African diasporic dances or Black music in the West, at least in the Western Hemisphere. It's already by its own format, by its own form, it's already political.
Yes, thank you.
So
I'm so glad you brought this point up.
I don't know how to cut that in the middle,
Yeah.
kind of separate it. I was like, okay, I'm trying, but I'm not getting there.
And here in America, you're so right. How can you be a Black artist and have nothing to say about what happened with George Floyd? Any way you strike it, we came from slavery. That's our history as an African American. We came from slavery, and most of us do not know our ancestors. So how do you not have anything to say on that fact alone? So like you said, Iris, you're already put into a political format if you're a Black artist out here because of our past. So what happened to George Floyd had everything to do with our past. Don't you agree? I mean, come on. We would not have this problem in America if we didn't start out, coming here as slaves, having to win our freedom, having to win the right to vote. And still to this day, we still don't get everything that we should. So I just don't understand you knowing all these things that you can go, I don't have anything to speak on upon this. You don't? Well, what if you found out that your great, 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 great grandmother was once a slave?
Right.
You would change your thinking, probably go, oh, well, it affects me now because it's someone who was in my family. No. All of us have had grandparents, parents, whatever down the line that were slaves at some point. That's why you're here in America.
Yeah, and I think I was at a dinner a few months ago, and it was really interesting because I went for a quick dinner, and this guy, he was French, and he was just pouring his drink. He chose a bottle of wine, and he poured his wine, and he was talking to us, and he was saying, oh, we saw the wine. Oh, this looks great, and and he was like, oh yes, this wine is from my family. It actually started in the 1700s, blah, blah, blah. And and I heard him talk, and I was like, wow. And I was like, wow, you're so lucky to know your family like so far back. That's amazing. And he didn't understand the silence that came after, in the sense of, I don't know that far back. Neither does my mom, or neither does a lot of Black people.
We have no clue.
Yeah, we absolutely have no clue, but he was able to trace that far back. And I just felt that, okay, he truly didn't even realize or understand that actually, look how much you can actually go far back. And I can't do that.
I can't do it either.
My family can't do that, so it's interesting with that understanding. But I want us to go back to Africa, because you had that experience of touring in Africa, as you say, and I want to ask you the connection with your roots in Africa, and if you want to share your experience, and if it changed in any way the way that you see American culture, having been in the continent.
Definitely changed me. I could see myself later on in life, once my kids are on their path to success through a college, that more than likely I'm going to move overseas. I've seen enough of America. I know what America stands for. Not that I don't love my country, but it's not a country I can see myself staying in forever. During my travels, I've seen how a Black man or African American, however you want to state it, can and should be treated. So going to Africa and just being treated as a Black man from Africa and not a black man in America with all this baggage attached is big. You
Yeah.
know, really think what I'm saying. America, there's baggage attached to me. My pants are always saggy. There's all this baggage in history. When you go to Africa, you're there with your people. And so you just feel welcome, you know, and they're anxious for you to know about your culture because they know you're from America and everybody knows on the outside how it is in America where we don't teach black culture here. So they're anxious for you to go, hey, this is your ancestry. Hey, this is a traditional African garb, you know. And I've had clothes made for me in Africa that I cherish. And I'm like,
Wow.
man, we make some beautiful clothes. Can't get them here in America, of course. And why would you? You know, so that changed me being around my people. I remember my longest tour was in Angola, and I got so used to seeing just black people everywhere at the
Yeah.
hotel, in the restaurant, at the banks, at the gas, anywhere you could think it was a black person. So I remember coming back to America and I was just like, man, I'm spoiled now. I'm so spoiled. I got used to seeing my own kind and it was beautiful. It felt good because you don't grow up that way. You know what I mean? And it's not the way of being a white man or white woman in America where you see your kind everywhere. You know, it's the
Yeah,
dominant
and I think
culture.
it's we just don't realize. We
Yeah.
just don't realize how important it is. Yes, we have this project and we keep saying representativity matters, etc. And we want to be there and there. But when you actually travel and you know to the continent and to African countries, and you are surrounded, as you say, by your own kind, it is that feeling of home. It's there's no question about you being different. It's you're just part of the crowd, you know. It's
There you
not,
go. That's
you
what I was
know.
getting at. You just part of the crowd, you know, you can just live life. There's no fear of, man, am I gonna get shot? Am I gonna get pulled over? Is this gonna be a cop's bad day or he just doesn't like me because he pulled me over and saw I was black? Now I'm not saying violence can't happen in Africa, but odds are you're not gonna that stuff's not gonna happen to you over there. And if it does, it's from your own kind and it's probably based on some type of other hate. But in America, you know it has to do with your skin color when a lot of these things happen. And so it just feels good to be there and just be like, hey, I don't have the same worries from a country that I live in and was, you know, been living in all my life. So definitely changed me. And I plan to probably live overseas and not just with Africa, just a lot of the different countries I've been to. The treatment has just been amazing, you know, to where I easily can say, I could be the only black man living here in Azerbaijan and I get treated just like I'm Azerbaijani. You know what I
Wow.
mean? Yeah. And I'm
Yeah.
like, you can't even do that in America.
Wow, I've
You
never
know?
been to Azerbaijan, but that's good. That's really
Yeah,
amazing.
yeah.
But I
And when
hear
I,
a lot of there was a program, a big program from Ghana, isn't it? Was it finished last year or the year before? Yeah, they were welcoming a lot of African Americans back to Ghana.
nice,
There's a
nice,
big
nice.
program that I saw on the news, and I have a friend that is Ghanaian from Ghana as well. She goes, "My God, it's happening! So many African Americans going to Ghana." I was like, "Wow, that's just
Yes, that's beautiful.
amazing," actually. And it's true because do we really choose to do tourism in African countries? Most of us don't. Most African Americans don't. So most even Europeans in African diaspora countries don't. Even our own Africans. I spoke to a friend the other day from Angola, and I was telling him, well, you got money, you can travel. Why not travel within Africa? Oh no, I don't want to do that. I want to go to France and kind of stuff. And I was like, that's interesting, but like, you see how you are conditioned, like you can go to
Yeah,
another African country and have a great time, and he lives in Angola. It's not like he lives in Portugal or anything. So I thought that was quite interesting to
it's
say.
interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. But I want to just we're almost getting to the end, but we have the questions keep coming a little bit, so I'm just trying to read them, see if I can get them to you as well, and also to allow time for our director Joselina to say a few words towards the end about Batoto Yetu as well. But we've got a question here saying that like here in Portugal, the Portuguese artists are, like fusing a lot of African music with Portuguese music. And I guess this happens creatively everywhere. but there's that fine line between appropriation. Is it confusion? What is it? Does this happen in the US a lot? I guess it does, but I don't see it. We don't see it happening in hip hop. That's what the question says. What do you think about it?
Can you kind of ask the question again?
Sure. I think the question is to say that the Portuguese artists are fusing African music a lot with Portuguese music. Does this happen a lot in the US? And because the person says they don't see this happening a lot, this kind of fusing hip hop with other stuff. What do you think?
I would say no. I would say no, just because, I mean, if you're an independent artist, you can work wherever you want to work with. But the major artists are all signed to major labels, and they don't see the profit in working with an international artist unless that international artist is really big already, you know. But even most of the time, you could have a big international artist that's maybe big in like Italy, but if they don't have a fan base in America, a major label is going to say, what's the point of doing a collaboration? There's no money in it for us. Everything's money based over here. And they have to see that it's going to make sense money wise. So that automatically cuts down on fusing anything unless that fusion becomes something popular within our culture. So if a major artist was to fuse something, you know, work with a Portugal artist and it blew up on the radio out here, would that avenue be open a little bit? Yeah, but it will always go back to, is it profitable? So you're independent like myself. I could see someone and go, man, they're talented, or man, I like their vibe. I want to work with them and see what we can create. And that's kind of why, you know what I mean? Earlier I showed you, like, I work in classical, vocal, jazz, hip hop, because I understand music in those different formats. I can work in those different formats, and I don't have some guy over top of me that doesn't know music going, nah, don't do that. That doesn't work. That doesn't make money. It's not always about making money. It's about the culture too. So
do you do that as a way to, for your work to be sustainable, or did you do it as a choice, or just happened in your career and you pursued it, or because you're independent, you can make those different choices?
Just because when you're independent, you know, I've had my opportunities to sit in front of Sony and Universal Music Group and have opportunities at major record deals, and one wasn't given to me, the other one I turned down, just because I felt I had to give up too much. I really like, I would just say, having control of the type of music I put out and the people I want to work with. And the give and take with being a major label artist is, yeah, you can make a lot of money and they can make you a big celebrity star, but it also comes with a lot of restrictions of not being able to do things when you want to do them. So you have to decide what works for you.
And do you think this being independent is also what allowed you to approach these different mediums like Netflix or TV or any other mediums that you kind of collaborate and approach? And also within that question, can I actually ask you, how did you do that without having to say, oh, I met this person, or, you know, I'll introduce it. Yeah. How did you come from a place where I said, okay, I'm going to approach Netflix now on this, or I'm going to approach that series, or is it like an agent that you have? Because I think here, I'm not sure if the Afro-descendant community understands that there's power in having an agent, or if you don't have an agent or manager, how do you organize yourself? And how do you approach these big companies if you are in a place where you can approach them? How do you do that?
It works two different ways. I'll give you two great examples. So ESPN, I have a direct relationship with their music director who programs the music for all their shows, Sports Center, their 30 for 30 films, their specials, and all of that. So anytime I create new music, I can directly go to the music director and say, hey, check this out. Or he can come directly to me or my company and say, hey, we have this coming up. Do you have something, or can you write something for it? Whereas my dealings with Netflix or Hulu, ABC, some of the bigger networks, that's done through a third party. Bigger networks sometimes will not directly speak to an artist. So you have to have a rep, or in my instance, when it comes to licensing, I have a licensing deal, which is no different than signing a record deal, to be honest. Sure. With a licensing deal is you have representation and you have the door open for any major network you can think of, to where they can take your music and go, hey, this fits this show, or hey, this would be great on the soundtrack for this film. Or those same companies will reach out to, you know, that licensing company or that label and go, hey, we really love X and X song from your artist. Can we get it for this show? And that's how you'll see stuff show up on TV all the time. Building a direct relationship is tough when it's a big conglomerate company. And like I said, a lot of times they want you to go through a third party to even talk to them for a reason. If not, you know how many emails a lot of these companies would get every day from artists from, I mean, I'm talking about artists that barely can record correctly to be sending their stuff in. So
My
there's
tape, this is
gotta
my
be some
tape.
type. Yeah, check this out. Like we don't even check CDs and tapes no more, but there has to be guidelines, or there has to be, I would say, a way set in stone to where only certain people are able to present the music. It keeps
Right.
things, I would say, honest to a degree as well. So it can work both ways.
And would you say you need to be in the right networks, or at least insert yourself in the right networks to do that without being pushy, but kind of like, and speak in a certain way? Because yeah, you have to kind of understand these kind of codes in terms of all these big companies as well, right?
Yeah, I mean, with these companies too, you can't take anything personal. And what I mean by that is, I've had to write full songs in a day or two and turn it in and still not get the job. So, but then there are times where I'll do that and I get $5,000 out of doing the job. So it's give and take with it. You're not always going to get everything that you're being asked to write something for, but I know that. The other thing is you got to be a quick songwriter. That plays a big part in this because again, there's a lot of songwriters in the world. It's a lot of competition, and you got to be able to do two things great: write quick and write at very high quality of music. And if you can't do those two things, it's going to be tough for you to break into the licensing field because everybody that's in the licensing field writes music at a high level and probably writes music in several different genres, like I do. So for me, I could get something that could come in after this, after we're done talking, and I could have it done by tonight, written, recorded, send it to my engineer to get mixed and mastered, and it's sitting on their table tomorrow morning or by the end of the day at the most. And so when I meet artists sometimes and they're like, hey, I've been working on this song for 3 months, and they say they want to do licensing, I go, it's going to be tough for you to do licensing if it's taking you 3 months just to do one song. They looking for 3 days max to get a song done. So you have to, I think, be built for it the same way. You know, some people say, you know, you want to be a big artist, you got to be built for that life and everything that comes with it. And that stuff is true. Everybody's not built for this stuff.
So it's also a skill, depending what choices you make. If
Correct.
you just want to be that, yeah, that artist that sort of, you know, has the name and is like kind of on stage touring, whatever, however long you last, that's one thing, that's a skill. And if you want to do the kind of work that you do that has a certain longevity, but also has the skills for that as well, and the tools for that is to be able to be fast, to be able to write quickly and still creatively, and to be able to also, as you say, I think it's very important not to take things personally, not to take rejection personally. It's just to know, you know, tomorrow may be a yes, somebody will say yes, you know. So it's data that I feel that sometimes, you know, in our communities, I feel when they get a no, they're like, oh, you know, then they can't get up, you know. And I think it's that song is that first you don't succeed, pick yourself up and try again and try again and try again. So I'm gonna ask you one last question. I think I'm gonna try and combine two questions if I can, because they just came through. And then hopefully I'll let the word to our director, Joselino, to say last few words for Batoto Yetu, and our thanks. I mean, wow, the time just flew by. That's amazing.
Oh, I didn't even realize it was 3:21. Wow.
I know, right?
Well, here in America, yeah. Jeez.
Thank you so much. It's like it's been such an amazing conversation. But this one last question that I have here, it's about your journeys and your travel that you did around. This is a bit more of a conceptual question, I think. You know, it kind of says the travel that you've made around the African diaspora and the African continent. You've created bridges that were very strong in terms of sharing knowledge and sharing culture, as you said. Do you feel that these bridges can be a way to also revive African culture to the world, type of thing, in a sense that is elevated I guess. People generally know about African culture, and actually saying African culture is really kind of tiring because, of course,
Oh man.
you don't say European culture, do
I
you?
know, no, not at all. I'm so
It's
glad you said
like,
this.
what? Africa is a big continent. There's countries that are so different in terms of their dancing, their music. But let's just say, in terms of a general, in general, do you feel that these bridges will also not just enrich you, but also enrich the continent? That's one question. And the other question is, how do you feel that perhaps hip hop is now connected to movement and dance? Because before there was that, to me, I can see it because I can see this question. What I think I know what she means, but hip hop is kind of given birth to different branches in terms of movement. But give a break dance and also obviously Batoto Yetu, we are connected to dance, and it's about how you see the connection today in terms of the current hip hop music to dance, and the other one is about the bridges in terms of enriching you and enriching the continent.
Definitely. I mean, I remember my first time going to Africa. Some of the things that I heard from a lot of the people out there was, how come Jay-Z doesn't come out here? How come Kanye doesn't come out here? Because one thing they know is those guys have the means to do it. They could literally book a tour themselves without even talking to their label because they have the money to do it.
Yeah.
But they make a conscious decision not to come there. And I'm honest with them. I just say, hey, the way American culture is I don't look at it this way, but if they don't see value in coming here, they're not going to come. And unfortunately, though this is the homeland, they don't see a monetary value in coming to Africa, if that makes sense. So if they go do a show in Africa, they're not going to make anywhere the amount of money that they're going to make here in the United States, and they know that. But your understanding is it's not just about that. You going there as a major African American artist that's known worldwide, you automatically lend so much to that economy by just stepping foot in a village in Africa. You raise the value of that community, that economy. They don't look at it that way. And so part of the bridges I create is I've been in villages where it's 3,000 people and all 3,000 people are at my concert. And it's the first time they've seen a live concert in their life. Definitely the first time they've seen an American artist perform. But I saw what it did. I saw how it made their whole village, one, come together, be outside together at one point in time, and all of us celebrating together. It was just a big celebration. It was a concert, but it was a celebration of life. And it was a celebration of, here's an African American who this is home for him, and he's coming home and showing the love that he has for us. So the other thing that I think comes out of it is that I'm able to expose is the culture of Africa. Especially when I was in Angola, I remember I got to experience a traditional Angolan dance out there from a tribe, and I remember I loved the garbs that they had on. I posted the video on my social media, and so many people are like, "Wow, wow, wow!" And I'm just going, "This is the homeland. This is what you're missing. This is what the news doesn't show you. If they show Africa, it's always, can you donate? This child is hungry. This, and that." I'm like, there's so many other beautiful things going on in the country besides struggle. Okay, yes, they have more struggle than we have, but there's also beauty going on. And so I always try to show the best and be like, hey, check this out, check this out. And people go, I didn't know they had that. And I feel bad sometimes. I go, what you think they're living in the Stone Ages out here? Yes, they have this, but when you really think about it, you go, I live in America, and anytime I see Africa, they're showing me all the bad stuff. That's how you're going to naturally think. And so when I'm showing you good stuff and you're going, wow, I didn't know they had that. Wow, I didn't know they could do that. That bridge is opening up and making people and go, I need to learn a little bit more. And so I've seen that happen. For the second question with dance, I remember growing up in hip hop early on, especially the basis of hip hop. It was heavy with disco, funk music. And so dancing was a part of hip hop when it first started. Break dancing, any breakbeat dancing, any of that stuff. It's a part of the four pillars of hip hop, to be honest. So
that's right.
Today, because of how hip hop is formatted and there's not really much homage paid to the pioneers and those who have built the game, there's not really any credence led to the dance section of it. You see very few artists that include dancers anymore because they're not thinking about, well, this is a part of the hip hop culture. And I'll give you a great example. I brought up Azerbaijan earlier. When I went there, I was the first black man to step on their soil in over 10 years, especially a performer, okay?
Wow.
One of the main things I did to make sure they understood hip hop to a full degree is I worked with one of their dance teams over there in Azerbaijan. So when I did my shows, I had probably about a 5 to 6 mix of men and women dance team behind me, and I sometimes I'll join in and do a couple steps too, which is old school hip hop. Because I remember Big Daddy Kane, he used to spit and be dancing at the same time. Same with Heavy D. So now you see someone do that now, you're like, what are you doing? But that's entertainment. It shouldn't be what are you doing? One, that's part of hip hop, and that's part of the entertainment part. So it's just we got to get the game to go back to the foundation of hip hop, storytelling, talking about our community, uplifting our community, including dancing back into hip hop, which again is a pillar. I even work with a DJ still he could really cut up the turntables.
Oh, brilliant.
No one does that no more.
Brilliant.
And so when I perform, I have my drummer, I have a keyboardist, I have a drummer. I mean, I have a DJ. I'm giving
I
you
could
all
hear
the
that a
different
little
formats.
bit in your song,
Yeah.
King Noah. I thought,
Yeah.
is that a little bit of scratching type
Yep.
of old style? I was like, oh, I don't know anything. I don't want to say that. I'm like, I have no clue. But I thought I heard a little bit of that. I was like, oh,
Correct.
is that a little bit of scratching? I love
And that's
it.
dead today. Most of the young kids go, what's that? Why are you messing the record up? Nah, that's some of the foundations of hip hop.
Yeah,
No one's messing up the record.
I love it. They don't know. They don't.
They don't know. They don't know. So
no, but it's excellent. Thank you for really sharing that. And wow, it's like a lot of amazing stories. I really thank you for sharing it and for being so generous with all your message. Do you want to tell us if you have any shows coming up or anything any new albums that are coming up that we should really know about?
definitely, I recently dropped a new album on September 18th. It's called Bittersweet. All my albums are concept albums, so there's 5 bitter tracks and there's 5 sweet tracks on there, and it mimics life. You literally have a bitter song, you have a sweet song, and isn't that how life is? It can be real bitter at one point, and something bad can happen, and 5 minutes later, the greatest thing in your life can happen. And so I wanted to write an album that feels like that musically, and that's what I did. And it's been doing very well, selling well, streaming well. I just put out my 3rd video from the album today, as well. Look up Bittersweet. Also go to my YouTube page. It's under Wordsmith, and you'll see the 3 songs that I've dropped from the album so far. Coming up, I have shows here in the United States. I head to Denver, Colorado next week. I have an upcoming, probably it's going to be virtual because of COVID still, but I have an upcoming tour with Germany, and I have an upcoming tour with Russia as well. So those are kind of a lot of stuff, yeah. And tons of symphony orchestra events all the way into the middle of next year. So
yeah, that sounds so exciting. Like, yeah. I really love that. Well, thank you so much. I'm going to put those links on our page, perhaps later today or tomorrow morning, so people kind of, get a chance to kind of go and check them out. And yes, I'll send you also the link about the book that I mentioned.
Yes, you gotta hit me with that. You surprised me with that. I'm serious.
Yeah, there's yeah. I like to read stuff, self-development. I think, hey, let me see what's going on. I haven't read that book because I can't wake up at 5 o'clock in the morning. But I know it's there. Yeah, sure. But thank you so much for that. I really, really appreciate your sharing your experience here. Batoto Yetu in this live for Afro Atlantico sessions. It's been a pleasure, a real pleasure to meet you. And there we have our director, Dessalino, who's going to say a few words and wrap it up for us. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yes,
it's all yours, Lino. It's all yours.
Okay, are you listening to me well? Okay, so thank you very much. I was here already, but I was having so much pleasure listening to you both that I kept myself silent because I think it was a great job, a great interaction. Thank you, Irish, and thank you, Fabio, also to make it happen. And thank you, Wordsmith, that we could make this happen. It was since a couple of days that we were preparing these months already, I think. And our friend from the embassy, Nicolau, he put us together. So thank you also to Nicolau and to the American embassy that helped us to fulfill this ancient objective that we always had. That is to connect these diasporas. You know, Batoto Yetu was founded by an Angolan that is living in America, in New York. So it always had this close relation with the US. And we wanted to do it in a way, in a more broad way, because sometimes we do some role models events. So for the kids to see different experience, different countries, different ways of thinking. And I think what you said is really what we want kids to listen to. You know, all these diverse ideas of how to win in this world, and how to be eclectic on your work. I was like, you played like in a lot of music styles with a lot of. Did you? I don't know if you already talked about it before, but did you? It was always with you, these diverse kind of environments to play, or it was something that was appearing, you know, during your career?
I always wanted to not just do one lane of music because I have a great love for so many different formats of music that I like to continue to challenge myself. And that's how, to me, you stay sharp and continue to become a better musician, is not just staying in a box and doing what's comfortable. And I've seen too, just working with other artists who may not be anywhere near my culture or my style of music. That's when some of my best has come out, because you have a different perspective, who they can maybe open up something in you that you didn't know was there. And so I cherish that exchange, because I've had some really great blessings coming out of the cultural exchange field, or just working in different genres of music in general.
Okay. And when you already made a small online event with Portuguese entities, did you know anything about the Afro-Portuguese people, Afro music? Did you know that we exist?
I definitely did. I'm gonna tell you why, because and a very good friend of mine is originally from Portugal. Her parents are from there, and we have stayed in contact over the past 3 years. And she talks to me about Portugal all the time, and she visits as well. So when I told her I was doing programs in Portugal, very happy. But yeah, I actually have a great love for Portugal. I've been trying to get there for a while, and I thought I was coming, but COVID hit. So I just said, hey, I'm just going to come on my own and see it for myself. And that's something I'm definitely going to do.
Yeah. You will be welcomed, and we will be all to do something with you, or just to hang around a little bit. We have a lot of different connections and friends, artists, historians. We are trying to do some, not trying, we are doing some African memory studies. So we're trying to teach that to the kids and to older people. Batoto Yetu in Swahili, it means our children. So we were born. I was also a dancer when I was younger, and we were born with it. Like we are the future. So we need to learn it, and to how did I say it, Iris? Yiddish. Quero acender a chama.
Yeah, you want to light up the flame,
Yes.
and it's working on legacy. But Giuselino is being quite, like, he's not telling the whole story, because we were talking about legacy, right, Wordsmith, and he's doing an amazing job for quite a few years now. And can you please explain to him about the Black presence in Lisbon and what you do, because this is just like amazing.
Yeah, this was for when Wordsmith come to Lisbon.
Yeah.
So you have to do a tour with
exactly
some African tourists. Yeah, we are doing, so the project, the association itself, it has the meaning kids through dance, through music, and it's not only folk, you know, it's a deeper information, because that way it's an easy way for kids to get to know more the traditional clothing that you said about the skirts, etc. Because kids were like, oh, we don't want to play this old school stuff. So it was an indirect way to teach them more about history and more about culture. And we are doing now some books and some tours, and we want to put some statues on the city of Lisbon of African people who were here. So we had like this big history about since the Romans with the African presence, since the Phoenicians, the Moors, then with the transatlantic slave trade. So we have this, and then lately with migrations. So we have like one of the longest African presence in Europe, and it's very connected with the US. And so that's why also we are doing this, and that's why we are having a lot of Americans here that are coming from the US, like kind of a Blackzit, and they and they are very active on the community here now, and it's very interesting. And we really hope that all the diasporas can, we all have something to share to each other, and as it was in I think that's one of the ways that we can grow overall, but I'm speaking like a old historian and that's not the purpose. I just wanted to thank you, and let's see if we can do something more. And thank you also to Fabio and Yiddish, and you're welcome to keep in touch with us, and
We'd love to
propose something.
Thank you so much.
We hope we can have you here. I'm gonna shake up Lino to get you here.
Yes, please do. I gotta get there. I'm telling you, I've been trying to get to Portugal for 2 years now. And so though I love the virtual program, I need the culture. I gotta be in touch with the culture. So definitely. And I commend you too. Thank you for all the great work you were doing out there. It's a pleasure to hear it. Thank you for sharing it. Just keep rocking. Don't stop. Yeah, keep rocking. Keep going hard with it.
Okay.
And I think what Lino is doing and has been doing with this program of the African presence in Lisbon, it's so powerful, because in a way, African Americans have been writing from, the recording of your history is funnily enough, is written down a lot more even in ways than ours is. So, which is strange, because you think, okay, it's the new world, but actually you've got that written down a lot more than we have. And the work that Batoto Yetu is doing and Lino is doing through one of the programs, through the African presence in Lisbon, is to work on the legacy, what we talked about, the fact that that French guy could go all the way to 1700 and we couldn't, until Lino started investigating, doing partnerships with the right people, and sort of, we are doing these, putting plaques, everywhere about certain people that were important in our history here, and trying to reach this history to our communities in the same way that I know that you're trying to do as well. So I think that kind of mirrors quite well.
Yeah. Okay. So Fabio, I don't know if you want to say something. He's in backup.
Yeah.
No, I'm very shy, but I'm watching you all, and congratulations. I think the conversation went just great.
We are not seeing you.
I'm a pop lover, and I appreciate that you speak about so many things, and hope we can conversate personally, and you can come to Portugal. Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Thank you so much for that. Thank you, Fabio. Appreciate that.
Okay. So Iris.
Thank you so much again. It's a big, massive thank you from all of us. Really appreciated your words. And they were words all across, you know, you shared tools that are so important for young musicians, young artists, young kids, even those that are not musicians, to understand actually what you need to have, you know, and I think one thing that really resonated with me and for me was what you said right at the beginning, is to have a purpose, you know that purpose. And even if you don't know the whole of it, understand that you need to have a purpose, you know, and that will give you strength, that will empower you, I guess, to develop good habits, you know, successful habits and successful language, vocabulary, and relationships, professional relationships that will help you, you know, get to where you want to get. So really, really appreciate you sharing that. So thank you. We're going to say goodbye. We don't want to say goodbye, clearly. We're going to say goodbye. So,
Iris, thank you. Thank you so much, Iris. Thank you for all the questions, the great conversation, and just thank you to the whole team. Thank you for giving me a platform, you know, to speak. And I definitely will stay in touch. And if there's any way we can find a way to get me over there at sometime in 2022, we got to make it happen. So,
yep, let's go.
Yeah, let's go. There you go. Let's go.
Cool. Thank you so much. I just want to say to the people who are still watching, our next Afro Atlantico conversations online are going to be on the 10th of October. That's going to be with amazing New Yorker artist called Sekou McMillan. So I hope you get in touch, check out our events, see our page, check our page, Batoto Yetu Portugal, to see what's going on and get inspired. Bye-bye. Take care. See you guys. Go.